This is Jamey from Games, and I am harkening back to my childhood here for today's video because when I was a kid, a game that I loved, a big game filled with lush art, was called Key to the Kingdom. And Restoration Games recently updated this game to modern standards. And I got to play it at Geeko to the West and was really impressed what designers Ben and Matthew did with this game. My number one favorite thing about the game, and I don't even remember this from my childhood, I don't remember how the game did it, but I think it did something like this, is that there are these whirlpools in the game where when you move your worker onto a whirlpool, half of the board opens up and reveals a whole new world underneath it. It's this magical moment in the game where the world just doesn't quite double in size. It increases by what, 66%. It increases significantly in size, and you get to see all this new stuff that was underneath this board that was previously folded up. I think that's a brilliant mechanism to start with a board that's closed up. You have less options, less space, and then open up that board as you play and reveal plenty of cool stuff inside of it. Yeah, so that's I think my favorite thing, a component and mechanism tied together. However, one of the reasons that I really wanted to play this game at Geekway is that Key to the Kingdom is a roll and move game, and I wanted to see how Ben and Matthew modernized the roll and move mechanism. On your turn, you're rolling dice and you're moving in one direction around this map, choosing a couple different paths along the way, but choosing one direction, you must move the full length of the dice that you roll. So if I roll an 8, I must move exactly 8 spaces, unless I get to a challenge, and then I get to stop. But the key to what they did here is as you're moving around this board to collect key parts, really, and rolling dice, you can modify those dice with these tiles that you have in front of you. So you have all these tiles that can modify a dice roll by plus or minus 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can only use one tile per turn unless you have a special ability that says otherwise. But it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of how you modify the dice. And once you use one of these tiles, you have to flip it over. You can't use it again until you take a turn to take a heroic nap, as they call it in the game, to refresh a bunch of tiles, or if you get some other bonus or ability that lets you refresh some tiles out here. It's very simple, very streamlined, but I think it works. It works really, really well. That we had the fun of rolling a die to see what you get when you roll that die, but you also had a lot of agency in terms of how you modify that die with these tiles. And it was tied to the third system in the game, which is that there are a bunch of dice rolling mini games in this game. They're all around the board. They're in the top of the board, and they're in the board that opens up. You can see one right here. There's a little mini game here. I don't actually know if I played that mini game, but there was a. Did I play that minigame? Yeah, I don't know if I did play that minigame. But there are minigames like, there was one that said you have to move on, within the scope of a single turn, you have to roll a die, and then you can modify that die with one of your tiles as normal if you want, and then you get to advance if the sum of that die and all previous dice rolled in that challenge are 9 or less. And then you do it again. You move on to another space. So it's kind of like this little mini adventure that you're going on to get a part of the key. And you have to get all the way through that adventure within the scope of a single turn for you to get the part of the key that you need. All these different dice mini games, all explained in this Adventure Atlas book. And I just had fun going around the board trying different mini games. I failed a bunch of them, even with my modifiers, but it was fun to try them and experiment with these different mini games that Ben and Matthew had created. I had a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, Key to the Kingdom, a roll and move game with a modern twist of agency and a brilliant board that folds open and reveals new things as you open it up. It reminded me a little bit of modern games that have storybooks to them, where the storybook itself is the board, but this was kind of neat that you just had a single board with a lot of stuff on it, and you had that magical moment of opening it up at certain times in the game. And you can even go back into these portals and close the board back up afterward if you want. That's Key to the Kingdom. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you can think of other boards that do magical things like that, or other games that have roll and move that are modernized, that do some interesting things with roll and move. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks.